Welcome to the Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery, where three tarot mavens put their heads and hearts together to offer their wisdom and insights about the tarot. We hope that you find this helpful in your personal journey to self-discovery and growth.
Join us as we explore ways to use tarot for self-reflection and self-correction.
Together, we'll discover new ways to use tarot to weave threads of understanding into the tapestry of your life.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to season 3. It's been a while since we've been together, and we're really excited to start again on September 21st, which is the new moon in Virgo and the day before the fall equinox. We have a great spread for you. We're going to start by getting caught up with everybody, first of all, because it's been a while since we've all hung out. And then we will get into this great spread. I call it the harvest spread for Virgo season, to like really check in with yourself and see how far you've come, maybe start to think about where you want to go next. And it's a big spread with a lot of questions, but you don't have to answer all of them. You can pick and choose, and we'll give you some suggestions on how you can do that and really make it your own, really refine and adapt it to what you want to do. But I think we should catch up with everyone first. And we're going to start with Linda, because she is on an amazing European adventure still. And I want to know what your favorite part so far has been about extended travel, and also how you're using tarot in your day-to-day life.
Well, that's not a small question. So hi, hello from Spain. I'm at my cousin's place. She has bought an apartment here. And that was the main reason I came here, was just to see this place. And she had to go back. She didn't know when all this started. She did not know when her appointment to get her visa, her long-term residency permit, was going to be. And after she had her appointment in Washington, D.C. at the Spanish consulate, they told her, it might be a minimum of 3 months before she would get her passport back. But then at the end of the week, she got a text message and her visa had been approved. And so, yeah, I've had friends, I've had relatives, I've traveled planes, trains, automobiles, and buses. It's been a kind of an adventure. I do have access to her car, so I have been driving around doing things, and that's been interesting, trying to learn the European road signs and the difference between miles per hour and kilometers per hour. It's been an adventure. It's been really good. Everybody here has been super nice. They've been very helpful. They've been very friendly.
I love how quickly you've started to feel at home there.
In spite of the fact that it's really rural in nature, it's also fairly international, which is interesting.
That's great. That sounds really like a really beautiful place to spend time. How have you been using tarot lately?
And I was just, in addition to the symposium prompt, I was sort of like doing okay, what do I need to know today card, and then journaling about that a little bit. And then today I went online and found a place where you could do a shuffle and pull an oracle card, just an online site. And so I did that. And it was a really interesting deck. It was called the Quiet Rebel Oracle deck. And after looking at it I think I might have to buy it, because that's kind of how I look at myself, a kind of quiet rebel. So I did that, and I had to put that just on my phone. I saved the picture on my phone, and then I have pulled the cards for each day, but I've only turned over the one for Monday. So they're sitting here on the table waiting for me. And I did bring a second deck, which I'm going to use for the spread that we're doing tonight. So, but I don't want to take up too much more time, because, so I'm here, I'm in Spain, I'm doing that thing. I have about another month. I'll be back in the States on October the 15th. I think today is September the 15th. So I've got another 30 days to go. So there might be a road trip to Switzerland in there.
That's
Haven't
so
just haven't
exciting.
haven't figured that out yet, but it could happen.
Okay, Kate, I know that you just went back to school a couple of weeks ago, right? So we won't make you talk about that unless that's what you want to talk about. I wanted to know what you're doing to keep yourself sort of grounded and going with all of the things that you've been studying. I know you're taking an astrology course, which
Oh
is super
yeah.
exciting.
It's I've made like, I was thinking about this eclipse that we're having, right? So it's the new moon in Virgo, but it also happens to be, I guess, for us, like a partial solar eclipse. And, you know, I was reading some stuff about solar eclipses because I'm not too familiar with so much of the energies and such. And, how they talk about, about a month before, 6 months after. There's like periods of time where the energy can be felt, prior and post the eclipse. And it's funny because come August or towards the end of August, there were certain changes that I needed to make in my life. Like you mentioned being grounded, and I felt like there was too much going on where everything was up here in the head and it was very stressing. And I needed to make some hard choices about things to kind of release or cut out in order to kind of bring me back down and to kind of keep me here and grounded and calmer. And once I did that, oh my God, I felt so much better. I'm taking this astrology class. It's a year-long one. It's through the Nightline um, astrology, and I recommend it to anybody. The guy who runs it is Adam Ellenboss, and he is just amazing with his knowledge of ancient Hellenistic astrology and just how he teaches it. So I've been very consumed with that, just really delving into astrology and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then work, but work is work. I don't need to go into that.
Well, you
But
can if you want
yeah,
to, but I figured, you work all day today, you might be sort of over it by now.
but
Since
I'll
this is
tell you one thing. What is different about the start of this new school year is that because I was able to release and kind of give up some other things that were going on, I feel just even calmer and more grounded in my classroom because my mind is not consumed and occupied with all of these other things that were going on. So it really has helped me just in general to really ground myself where I go and just be able to dedicate 120% instead of 100% as a teacher. Yeah.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
the
Yeah. So what about
being a
you,
teacher.
Angie?
Oh,
What
let's
Yeah.
is
see.
going on?
Well, you know how I am usually a big paper journaler. I love my paper journals, all the cards and the drawing and the coloring and all of that. But I have been trying to sort of consolidate my time, be a little bit more organized and sort of staying on task so I can get the things I need to do done every day and also not really have to give up any of my spiritual practices like my yoga and my tarot
Yeah.
practice. So rather than pulling a card every single day, like Linda mentioned, I've been pulling a card from an oracle or an affirmation deck. It's called the Art of Abundance deck by Cassandra Reinhardt. This is a few years old. I don't think that she makes them anymore, but they're just a lot of really nice affirmations. And then pulling a card for each day of the week. And I usually take a little time on Sundays, like a little plan my week time, and that's when I do that. And I don't go too deeply into interpreting the cards, but since I'm using an electric journal or an electronic digital sort of thing, I'm using OneNote. And I always um, scan my decks so that if I lose a card, I can, in a pinch print it out. And also I can post, pictures of them online and etc. I can put every day now when I use a digital journal, I put a picture of the card that I drew. I've been using the Light Seers deck this month after spending most of the year with just the RWS and Spirit Keepers Tarot. My next journaling adventure will probably be a mix of these two things. They're things that I've found work better and quicker with a digital journal. And,
Mhm.
of course, I still like to do artsy stuff with my craft supplies. Got to use them some way.
Yeah.
But it's not as much pressure
Absolutely.
this way, I feel like, if I do just a card a day ahead of time. And then I just have the cards pulled already. And since I'm using the Light Seers, that guidebook has some beautiful journal prompts that come with it. So if I look at a card in the morning and I'm like, duh, what does this mean? There's some things to get us started. So
Yeah.
do you guys want to talk about our tarot spread, or is it too soon? Do we have more things to blab about?
Oh, no, I think we need to get
No.
to this tarot
Okay.
spread. Yes.
Yeah, because
Well,
it's great.
all right. Well, we've talked about how it's Virgo season, and Virgo is a mutable sign, and it's a mutable earth sign. So it's about change, but especially I feel like this particular transition in the seasons is it's my favorite one. It's very kind of slow and calm, and it takes us from being very external and active in summertime and getting ready to turn in a little bit. And Virgos are also very meticulous. They're great at planning. And like if you have to do anything, ask a Virgo to plan it, because they don't just make like plan A and plan B, or like me, an airy fairy air sign, I make a plan, and if it doesn't work, I'm like, well, we'll figure it out from here. And we start from scratch. If you have a Virgo to plan your thing, they have thought of everything ahead of time. Every possible, from there's no gas in the car to Godzilla attacks. Like they have a plan for all of it. So I kind of thought this would be a good time for us all to channel our inner Virgo. Got a couple of journal prompts to contemplate, and then we can get into the spread, if that's okay.
Grab your tarot deck or your oracle decks and bring them on over and get yourself settled in, light your little candle or whatever kind of ritual that you like to do.
You can listen to this, once through, and then sit down with the YouTube video if you want, and pause it and take your time with these. First of all, for just a little bit of not even a meditation, really. Let's just all get calm, sit still, feel yourself supported by whatever you're sitting or standing on. You can lay down if you want to, although it's a little hard to pull cards when you're laying down. Take a few deep breaths. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your spine tall out of your hips. And just breathe down all the way into your feet, and think about these little prompts. When you get to a place where it feels quiet and cozy and safe, close down your eyes and consider what you're most proud of so far this year. What's something you've done that you're just like, maybe there was something you accomplished and you thought you'd never get it done, but you got it done. Or maybe you made some progress on something that you've been dragging your feet on. It doesn't have to be a big deal. So think about what you're most proud of, and also bring to mind something that feels a little bit unfinished to you. If there's anything you want to put a pin in for next year, or finish up in these quieter, cooler months here in the Northern Hemisphere. And you can just a sentence or two for each thing, write it down or record it somehow, and then we can move on to this harvest spread if everyone's ready. Another way you could work with this, if you wanted to, is by taking each question from the spread and just working with it for 1 week, the first 4 questions, and then the 5th question to sort of bring everything home. So the first one we have is the seed. What did you plant? You can pull a card for that, or you can use this as a conversation starter with yourself and just answer these questions in your journal or out loud to yourself. The second question is about the soil. How was what you planted nourished and cared for, or not? The third question is about the harvest. What are you reaping now? What are you harvesting? Is that what you're expected to harvest, or did you plant apples and now there are potatoes there for some reason? And maybe
I hope not.
Consider a little bit. Maybe if you're not getting quite what you thought you wanted, maybe you can figure out why or why not. Why did it work? Why isn't it working? The next question is what to replant and what to compost. So you could even pull 2 cards for that. One for what you want to keep, what you want to replant, one for what you want to just turn into fertilizer for next year. And then the biggest takeaway for this season, like what do you feel is the biggest accomplishment? now after all of this consideration and pulling cards and sitting with those?
Let's just be Julie Andrews and start at the very beginning.
Sounds great.
So I had this little small deck that I got the first time I was in Barcelona in May, and it's actually an African American tarot deck, a mini deck. So that's what I'm using. I have not used it before. This is the first time I've pulled any cards from it. So this is going to be an adventure. So the seed that I turn over is the Knight of Wands. Okay. So that's an interesting card for this. And it's really, the image is something. It's like a big snake on the ground, like a big snake, like an anaconda kind of snake. And the mouth is open, and out of the mouth of the snake is rising this male figure. He's coming out of, but he's got wings like Icarus, that had the wings that tried to fly to the sun. And there's like this sun, the sky is sunny, but there's purple clouds, and the sun is up at the top, and it's just, and then there's a wand on the ground, and he's like reaching up with this winged arm, sort of like almost like Pegasus, but he's human, but he's coming out of the snake's mouth. And it's very interesting. And this deck only has the little booklet with it. It does not have a separate book. So I'm just going to have to wing it on this. But this, to me, for the seed, this is like all the potential, the energy that, because it's almost like he is sprouting from the snake, which I thought is really interesting since this is the seed thing. It could be interpreted almost phoenix-like, rising from the ashes or rising from destruction, if you want to look at it that way. But for me, it's almost like he's sprouting out of the snake. And, wands, of course, are action, energy, fire. The sun is very fiery, even though there are some purple clouds in the sky. And so I just think this card is really all about the potential that you have when you emerge out of a situation that may have kind of been holding you back.
Beautiful. I love that.
It's funny, Linda, because you got the Knight of Wands, and seed, I got the Knight of Cups.
Ooh.
And I really liked how you described the shooting out. Because in this deck, and I'm going to show it up so our viewers can see, it's a seahorse with the knight sitting on the seahorse. And if you look on the very bottom, it looks like he's there, but it made me think of him being shot out of the water, right? Like coming out of the water. And I really like this as like, what did you plant? Because I think with water being our emotions, it's our connection to others. And I think the idea of being under the water, right? So under the water, sitting there with how we feel about certain things, thinking about the connections that we have, not just connections to other people, but I think it's also connections to thoughts and ideas and creative ideas and things that you love or want or desire, because we have emotions, that we feel when we think about the things that are going to make us happy, and I think how we connect to that is very important. And I see water as being like that. And I see water as it wants unity, it wants things to come together. So if I think about what did you plant, this idea of I thought about the things that I wanted to do. I thought about how I felt and the emotions that I had, and I finally took action. Like I came up out of the water and I took action towards, well, what do I need to do? Do I have to release something? Do I need to bring something into my life that is going to allow me to move forward with something that I'm looking forward to doing.
That is incredible. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
that's
how you both
amazing.
got knights. For the seed, I got the Empress. I'm using the Right
Okay.
Here Tarot. And I can definitely see that. I've been working really hard this year on growing what I want in my life and just being very focused on home and my family and my close relationships, like with you guys and with my husband and our kids, and my longtime friends. And I love that. Uh, I know it can be a little irritating, the Empress being a pregnant woman all the time, but in this deck, I love how her pregnancy is the globe, right? It's the whole world. It's her whole world that she's creating in this. And I really like that as my seed. That was kind of my intention at the beginning of the year, was to really make things in my immediate surroundings better so that I can also serve my community from a more stable place. You can't really do anything for anyone else if you are kind of a mess and always needing to tend to home fires.
That's
So
true.
yeah, I like the Empress for the seeds that I planted at the beginning of the year. How about, what should we do next, Linda?
But we started with the seed, so we'll go to the soil.
Okay.
And when I pull that, it is okay. The Eight of Wands.
Mm.
All right, that's interesting. Now, a lot of people, this is a very interesting part. I want to look and see what it says here. It's just real okay. So each figure is I guess a different sort of deity or mythical figure in African American mythology or lore. So this card is Eshu, the god of, and this print is so tiny, the god of communication and messengers, and that's of Nigeria. And then they also show a figure that comes from the history of enslaved people, and the person is James Beckwith. And this says travel, which makes sense to me for this card because it shows in the traditional deck there are no people, it's just the wands, and the wands are all focused in one direction, and you can't really tell if you're throwing the wands in the direction or if they're coming at you or if they're going away from you, but the wands are all in the air and they're all focused in the same direction. And in this particular picture, it's a man kind of in a loincloth, and he's got the 8 wands on his back wrapped up in a rope, and then he has a mask over his face that just like one of those horned African masks, but he's running from cloud to cloud. He's in the sky. So he's kind of like running from cloud to cloud. So that's really interesting. And to me, the 8 of Wands is really all about focus. It's about putting your efforts in, like you were saying, Angie, you wanted to focus on your home, you wanted to focus on, getting your ducks in a row, you wanted to focus on getting your house fixed up so that it was a kind of a sanctuary for yourself, and that you could kind of do what you need to do. When that's organized, then the rest of your life feels like it's got a solid foundation. And that's kind of this too, and also the fact that he's in the clouds. This 8 of Wands always kind of makes me remember the big picture. Like, you get mired into the details, and if you pull back a little bit, then you can see kind of where you are in the bigger picture. The soil, if the dirt is not good, if the soil is not good, you can put all kinds of fertilizer and stuff on your plants, but if the basic dirt is not there, you're not going to flourish. You need to, before you fertilize your plants, you need to feed the dirt. And so I think a lot of people forget about that. And they go straight to, oh, let's put this fertilizer on here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's doctor this. It's like treating the symptoms versus treating the cause. And the soil is the basis of everything when you plant something. And so you really need to work on the dirt first. And that kind of goes along with the focus part of it. You've got to focus, you've got to, you look at the big picture so that you can hone in, but you really need to get all your wands going in the right direction. Otherwise, you're just going to be scattered.
Also, with the thought of the wands flying through the air, it's kind of like they've already been released, right? So they're gonna land where they're gonna land. And just like
Right.
you were saying, the soil, you only get one chance. You don't have to do it fast, but once it's done, it's kind of done, right? Once you have picked your soil that you're going to plant things in, that's it. And then you put the
Yeah.
food in. And like you were saying, if the nutrients aren't there, it's not going to flourish. What
Right.
did you?
So,
Okay.
Using the Good Fortune Tarot,
okay.
which I really enjoy. And the card that I got for the soil is the Hierophant. And
Ah,
I had to really think about this, but I think as far as nourishing and caring for myself, and in order for me to make changes in my life, right? Um, in order for me to sort of be that Knight of Cups that is taking action towards, you know, towards things that bring me joy or things that I feel good about, to nourish that and take care of it, it's I have to create, or I did anyway, because this is all happening now, is like a structure for myself that allows me to gain knowledge about things through various YouTube channels that I go to, certain people that I follow, books that I read in particular areas that are of interest to me and align with, what it was that I was planting. So I'm studying a lot of astrology, I'm studying like some spirituality. So all of these things, are me learning about something and then being able to slowly use what I've learned in my life to apply it to my life. And I think part of that nourishing and caring is to just continue to learn, to continue to learn, to continue to understand, to continue to formulate my own ideas and my own thoughts, and really working on not allowing some of those very negative obstacles or things to get in the way of me achieving something that I want. And I think for somebody to be able to do that, you sort of have to have a pretty good foundation. Like you were saying, your soil has to be,
yes,
it needs to be nourishing, right? However that's going to be, it needs to be good soil in order
absolutely.
for you to get the best growth possible. And I think part of nourishing yourself is making sure that you are, getting information and just learning about things um, that are important to you. And
And see, for me, the Hierophant is just the perfect card for that because it's all about education and systems and,
yeah,
and you're getting it from people that you respect and that you follow, that you trust, and you're getting that information in courses that you're taking, but you're doing that in order to become your own mentor and your own person. And so it's like
yeah,
it goes
absolutely.
both ways. So I think that that's an amazing card for that.
Yeah, and I was thinking about what you had just said too, that part of the process is that, you at some point you become your own teacher, right? Like you
Yes,
can learn from others, but you yourself are going to formulate a certain thought about something, and your view about something might be slightly different than what somebody else, that you may have learned. So then you wind up becoming your own teacher and
right.
teaching yourself how to move, like, or
And
sort of like having
especially,
that sense of independence in your own way of growing.
Curating your own curriculum that way. You're
exactly.
Yep.
putting some structure around what it is that you want to learn. I think that's really great. card for
Yeah.
your soil card. I
For the
pulled
soil.
the Queen of Swords,
Oh, I
which
love that
Ooh.
card.
I do too. She's my favorite. She is like my favorite. She is very no nonsense and focused, and she's a no bullshit kind of lady, which is what I've had to do with myself this year to get the things done that I need to get done, that have needed to be done in a while. I had to stop procrastinating. I had to stop listening to my own excuses. um, I had to really focus in on what was important to me and what I had the resources to do. Like I had to tackle the problems right in front of me. We've gotten a lot of repairs done on the house this year. We had a plumbing explosion, and so we had to get that fixed. And then we got our roof fixed, which is fantastic. And now we're sort of at the point of decluttering things. We're calling it, we've have you ever heard the term Swedish death cleaning?
Yes.
It's it's when you are kind of not really ruthless, but you're very meticulous and careful about what you keep and what you throw away. And nobody's sick. We're all doing very well. We're very healthy.
Yeah, but you
But
go into it with the spirit of like, I don't want anybody else to have to deal with this.
exactly, that's exactly what we're doing. We've been in our house for over 30 years. This is going to be our retirement home. This is it, everybody.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that the house is in good repair and that it's clean and that we're leaving our children something they actually want and not just something they have to deal with,
Exactly.
when they're gone. And I do see this as a good card for me for this year. I think I've been doing a good job of tending my soil that way, not letting too much extra in. I have stepped back a lot on a lot of the social things I do because being social really takes a lot of energy for me. So I haven't been as active in the symposium as I wanted to be, like pretty much for the whole year. But I did go to the summer solstice event, and that was beautiful. And I want to try to add in a little bit more of that as the fall goes on. Things are starting to settle down now. Most of the big scary things are done with the house. So now I can really focus on sort of nesting. I cannot wait. I'm so excited
That's
about
great.
fall.
What was it? What does it Shannon say about that card? Do no harm, but take no shit.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, do no harm, take no shit. I love the Queen of Swords for that. And swords is, cutting away a lot, but it's also about defense. Swords can be used to protect.
And I
So,
think it's also about clarity,
yeah, totally.
mental clarity. Yeah.
Mm. So, question 3 is, what are you harvesting?
Let's turn it over. Death.
Somebody had to pull that card today. Somebody had
Right,
to.
exactly. And in the little booklet, it's ancestors, and it shows a goddess called Atai, and she is standing amongst a varied group of people. She's pretty much taken up the whole card. She's got a skull in one hand and a bowl with fire, a flame coming out of it in the other hand. And it's like the Serengeti, the sunset is going, the sun is setting, again, purple sky. And it just says, a Thai goddess who dispenses the gift of death and conflict, also Nigeria, and it's about transformation. And obviously, a harvest is about death. I mean, the plants have come to fruition. You have harvested the wheat, you have pulled the fruit, you have pulled things up by the roots, the potatoes, the carrots, the root vegetables. So the plants are gone. The plants have been harvested and now they're dead. And now all of this food and bounty has to be transformed into food that you either eat immediately or you can freeze, put up, as we said in the South, we're putting up. And so you have food to last you through the winter, for the cold season and the seasons where nothing grows. So I think that makes really a lot of sense. And so sometimes when you get to a harvest point after you have worked on a project, met some goals, and it's like, oh, well, now what? And there's sort of a letdown, but because you have cleared some things out and you have accomplished the things that you wanted to accomplish, there's space there for you to now start working on your new things.
Ooh, I like that very much. That
Beautiful.
was yeah, that was beautiful. Um, so the card I got, the Emperor, and
Ooh,
I'll just show it for our viewers. Yeah, and I really like that because the first thing that I thought about, relating it to the other two is, that the creation of that foundation, right? That structure, like we talked about with the
yeah,
Hierophant. And then thinking about what I'm harvesting from all of that, of spending this time like for a few months, kind of reevaluating, thinking about some things that I wanted to do and some changes that I want to make, and the work that I put into it, educating myself and reading and doing all of these things to gain information and kind of sort out my thoughts about things. And now I really do feel like I'm feeling the joy of it. It's sort of like, you were talking about harvesting the food and then you have to do something with it, right? And,
right.
some farmers might sell it or they might use it, for a dinner for themselves. And I feel now like I'm getting ready to plate this at a table and enjoy it because I feel like I have created this structure that I needed and I'm doing everything to like move forward. And now I feel like I can sit down, like, if you see him, he's sitting on this throne
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
looks totally chill,
yeah,
right?
he
He's like
does.
chill and
He's
he's
in his
just looking at
empire.
everything,
And he's got
and
got the
I'm
crow up
sorry.
there just hanging out with him. And yeah,
Yeah, and it's just like the idea of just being able to be comfortable where I am right now. I haven't felt a sense of comfort like this in a while, and it's a developing comfort. So, when I think about the emperor just sitting there and chilling and looking out at everything that he, took part in creating,
right.
it's like I have that opportunity now to look at things and see that and just feeling calmer, like really like going back to being just grounded,
That's
just
awesome, Kate.
feeling more grounded. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched about it. So I'm really loving this spread because
Yeah,
it's really allowing me to kind of look at everything that has gone on and kind of talk about it and put it together and just see how much things have changed. And I think for our viewers, listeners and viewers, when you do this spread and just tarot in general, like it just opens things up and it allows you to see progress that you've already made that you may not necessarily have noticed before, but it gives you
yes.
that opportunity, especially with this spread. I love it. You did a great job, Angie.
This spread
Thank
is great,
you.
Angie. It's
Thank
wonderful.
you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it is giving you guys some good insight. For my harvest, I pulled justice. But this justice card I really like because it's balance. It's about balance. And that is really what I am gaining from really learning to dial in my discipline in a way that works for me, that I can do on my high energy days, that I can do and a version of my routines that I can do no matter how I feel, basically, like
Yeah.
enough to keep things going so that when I have hard days, um, and then I start to feel better again, I don't have to spend all the time I'm feeling better making up for what I didn't do when I was feeling down in the dumps or
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
unmotivated. So I really like this justice card. I have seen over the course of these 9 months how being more disciplined in a compassionate way that works for me has really helped my personal world blossom and my place in the world and my ability to help others figure out what they want. I'm a better tarot reader. I'm a better friend. I'm a better partner because I've spent the time to figure out how I can take care of myself in a consistent
That's
way.
awesome. That's
So-
Yeah,
awesome.
that is beautiful. And if I just want to say it correctly, did you say discipline and compassion for yourself?
Passionate discipline, compassionate
Yeah, and
discipline.
I think that is
Um,
so beautifully like paired together because, they're so like opposite one another, like
mhm.
very contradictory, but yet they work together. It's sort of like you need the two in order,
Yeah.
for things to happen. I don't know if that makes any
And
sense.
and
It does.
honestly,
It makes
that's
sense.
we need exactly that to go out into the world. We need more of that in the
Yeah.
whole world right now.
That's how I feel too. That is what has worked best for me in my life. So I figure the more I can practice it in my own life with what I can get my hands around, the more I will be able to help others navigate that as a reader and as a friend
Exactly.
when someone comes to talk to me, because there is, depression is a real thing. It is a real thing in your body. It is not just in your head. Your body is part of the whole process. And there are some days where it is just hard to fucking move.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but there are other days where maybe you're starting to get on the other side of that hump, and there is a part of you that's just like, but it would be so much easier if I just stayed in bed. If I just stayed in bed, it would be so much easier. But that just makes it go longer. So that's where the discipline comes in. But you have to be compassionate about it. You have to say, come on, babe, get up, wash your face. To do any heroic house cleaning, you
Yeah,
just have to make
exactly.
sure that things aren't piling up and becoming uncomfortable, because that will just make everything worse, and it just perpetuates the same cycle that you get stuck in. And I really love this depiction of the Justice card because it is very balanced, and she is actively holding the swords that the scales are hanging on.
Yeah.
And there's the reflection is her, and it's a more direct, maybe you might want to call it a darker version or a more stern version. It's like,
Uh-huh.
this is compassionate discipline to me. The one on the bottom looks like she kicked your ass, but the one on the top is like, but in a nice way.
It was making me think too about just Virgo in general, because one of the maybe more shadowy sides of Virgo is this sense of perfection, of
Yeah.
everything has to be done perfectly. And I think this discipline with compassion is really important because you can get very caught up in everything needs to be done the right way.
Oh my
Like
Exactly.
gosh,
I'm going to
both of
be
my
judged on my work and I have to make sure that I do this, and you just get too like overwhelmed with it, and then that compassion needs to come in to be like, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay,
you
if
Yeah,
know,
it
you're
looks
so hard
great
on
both of
just the
yourself.
way it is.
Don't go too far into perfectionism, because that's another thing depression can do. It can tell you, you don't matter if the bed's not made, or if the floor needs to be swept, or whatever it is. Justice, this picture of justice, I think, is the push pull between, you don't want to go too far either way. You don't want to go too far into a disciplined, we only do this, we do it this way, and we do it this way all the time because it's the way we've always done it. And you also don't want to go too far the other direction of, we'll just like not do anything until the decision makes itself. Isn't it amazing that how you can work on things with this deck? It's
yeah,
just so cool. If
yeah,
you open your mind and you're open to different ways of knowing, it's a different way of
exactly.
doing things. It's a different way of figuring things out.
Laid out two cards for this, one for the replant, one for the compost. So let's do that. So to replant, oh my gosh, I have Knight of Pentacles,
Ooh.
That's what I
which
do too. For that.
seriously,
Ooh.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
okay, so this one is wonderful. This is just wonderful because it is a man on an elephant, and he has got a leopard skin tunic, and he is holding literally a plate of seeds, and he's scattering these seeds off the elephant.
Oh, I love that. That's such a perfect card for this.
I know. So we went from death of the harvest, and now we have gone through the harvest. And one of the things that you do when you harvest things is that you get seeds. We used to, when I was the last house I lived in with my last partner, particularly the flowers, we would deadhead all the flowers and put them in a big, like a big sheet, and fold the sheet up and just shake the hell out of it and get the chaff out. And then we would save those seeds and replant them in the spring for more flowers.
Wow.
And the same thing that we do, we sometimes when we can tomatoes or whatever, and then we'd have we'd have one time we planted this little yellow, like yellow pear tomato. It's like little cherry tomatoes, but they're pear shaped. And one of them got stuck in the corner of the yard and grew this huge plant that had gallons of these tomatoes on it. And
Mm.
so we couldn't even pick them all. And finally, by the time we pulled the plant up, the half of the tomatoes had gone into the dirt.
Uh,
Well, the next year we were so inundated with yellow pear tomatoes, it just wasn't even funny. It was like they planted themselves.
It's a
But
good
but
thing to
so
have too many of, though.
No, it was great because I made yellow tomato sauce and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's like this going from the death card and the harvest where your fields are fallow, and now in September, because this area is they make hay, they have other things growing. And so you can see where the field has been harvested, the hay bales are there, the hay rolls or whatever, and nothing's gonna happen for a while. But then you know, you want to make plans with what you're going to do when your energy comes back. We're going into winter, we're going into the slower time. We want to rethink or think about what we want to do when spring comes. And obviously, we want to hopefully have a big plate of seeds that we can plant from the back of our elephant.
Yes,
And
definitely.
so for my compost card, oh, interesting. I got the Chariot.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay. So this is a very dynamic woman who is on a chariot. She's wearing a grass skirt and kind of a halter top with a big blue scarf kind of around her head with a like a scimitar, holding up a scimitar, and her chariot is being pulled by those two huge Cape buffaloes with the big
Mm,
horns.
neat.
And in the back of behind her, she is running ahead of a tornado.
Mm.
And so in the back, you can see the trees are kind of blowing and the tornado is coming, but she is out ahead of the tornado. So this is interesting for compost.
Wow.
Um,
Maybe urgency. Maybe try not to. I don't know.
I'm
Have
thinking
the
it's
tornado
almost
come in.
like you have to decide kind of what you're going to cut away.
Mhm.
It sounds weird, but it's almost like you have to prune,
Yeah, like
you know.
anything that wouldn't withstand a tornado, maybe.
Exactly. You have to
Anything that's not going
prune,
to stick around. Yeah.
almost like making a fire break so that,
Mm.
things can come through without either you stop the damage at a certain point, or you can go through it without being in danger.
Oh, I did the same thing as you, Linda. I pulled two cards. So
Okay.
for what to replant, the Five of Pentacles. And I was thinking a lot about it, and it's interesting how we all picked Pentacles, um, as the element for the card, for that pull.
Oh
And let
yeah.
me show you the card. So I really do love this
Oh,
interpretation of the Five of Pentacles. And it made me think about, like, as you were talking, Linda, you do your harvest, and then you wait a period of time and then you replant things. So the following along the lines of, there are going to be times where you may feel kind of defeated as
Yeah.
you as you're growing, as you're learning, as you're doing more things to bring more joy into your life. And I think what it's telling me is, in that time, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. And I think for me personally, that's a big thing. Like, I don't want to ask people for help. Like, I don't want
Right.
people to, whatever my reasons are, but sometimes it's difficult to ask for help. And it's not necessarily asking for help, like literally coming out and saying, oh my God, can you help me? But it could be just utilizing other resources that you have available to you to kind of help you through something.
Right.
Whether that be, a person, a friend, a book, whatever it might be. But it's just this idea of knowing that when things are not so great, you're upset about something, or you're confused, or you're just like, shit, I don't know what to do. It's kind of like, it's okay. Just start looking at some of the resources, and
Right.
bring that in, for yourself. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yep. And then for the what will you stop doing? What to compost? I got the Page of Cups. And I had to think about this for a while, but I think it's really good for me because I think sometimes, and I was saying this, I think to Linda one time, or I might have said it on one of our older episodes. It's like I can get very stuck in a page, um, in a pagey place, like just always being curious and wanting to study things and learn about things. And then sometimes it's sort of like I get stuck in that stage and I don't take the next step. Like I don't move towards that Knight of Cups where now you're actually taking some action. So, what will you stop doing? It's sort of like it's great to be curious, but not to get caught up in, oh, I need to learn everything before I can, go out and do something. Um,
Yeah.
that sometimes you have what you need and you just need to go do it. You just need to take action. And sometimes we can get caught up with, oh my God, I don't know enough. I'm not ready for it. I have to study more. I have to learn more. Um, which I think can also be kind of like a Virgo thing, as well, like a shadowy side to it, but that it's okay. Like, take what you know and just go. It's so funny because I'm looking at your card and listening to what Linda had said. And it's so interesting that he's also spreading these pentacles
Yeah.
out. Interesting. Yeah.
So I pulled the Knight of
Oh,
Pentacles,
wow.
and it's a man walking through a field, and like Kate said, there's all these little mandalas that those represent the pentacles in this deck, and he's just sort of putting them on the grass as he walks. And I only pulled one card for this prompt, because I figured I would do it as an either or. And this is definitely about planting, but it's also a little bit about composting, right? Because the Knight is active. He's not fast, but the Knight of Pentacles is active. He's always checking the perimeter and making sure that the gates are oiled and that the bills are paid on time. And
Yeah, he's the
it,
one you want to be your handyman.
yeah, really reliable and very plugged into the environment that they're in. Not like it's not that they don't have any vision for what it could be like, but they don't get stuck in that vision. They don't get stuck on the perfection of their vision coming to
Yeah.
fruition exactly the way they want it to be, which can be a shadowy Virgo side. They can be a little bit perfectionist and they're very hard on themselves. So this night is a good night for both deciding what to replant and what to not replant or to cut away, because they're very slow, they're very steady, they're not afraid to do something more than once. They might not like doing it more than once, but they learn from everything they do. They learn from everything they do, and that is what
Yeah.
I feel like I've been really trying to work on this
The biggest
year.
takeaway is, damn. 9 of Wands.
Oh, a lot of wands.
A lot of wands. So I have 3 wands, 2 majors, and a pentacle, and 2 court cards. So this Nine of Wands is really interesting because it is, let me see, I'm gonna look again. Nine is Onyame, guardian and protector, from Ghana. And the person that's shown is Caroline Still Anderson, an enslaved person from 1849 to 1919. And the key word is vigilance.
Mm.
And it shows this warrior. He's got a red and white loincloth on. He's got those kind of feathered things around his calves. The wands are behind him. He's got probably a lion claw necklace around his neck. He's got a feathered headdress with leopard skin on his head. And the wands are kind of behind him, and he is got this double-headed axe. The axe head is on the ground, and he's got his hands on the handle, like on top of each other, just kind of there, kind of very vigilant. It's a little different from the Nine of Wands you see in some of the RWS decks, because this person is not wounded. This person is not beaten down. He is very strong and very watchful. And I think that for me, I've been doing a lot of thinking kind of along the lines of what you were doing this past year, Angie, is that, and I need some of that compassionate discipline, because I just have been having the hardest damn time sticking with anything.
Mhm.
I just have been, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. I don't know why I've all of a sudden developed adult onset ADHD. I have no idea. But my plan and my hope is that when I get back to the States and get situated, that I can start doing some of what you've been doing and get myself, because there are projects that I want to do, there's things I want to work on, there's studies I want to do, Kate, like you're doing,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be totally always being distracted from those, and just
Mhm.
have a good thought in my head, but no action happens because I just can't figure out how to do it.
Well, and you're not really in a great place, like you said. You're up far from home right now. This is not the
Well,
time to start.
right now I am, and I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm in no way beating myself up over it,
Yeah. Good.
but I know that when I get back, I've got to do some actual work on it.
Well, this is a good spread for you to work with then over this
Definitely, it's a
Virgo
great spread.
season, like
Yeah.
to get um, to make that
I
plan.
got the Six of Swords.
Ooh,
Um,
speaking of
which
travel.
Yeah, which I
Huh.
really love, right? Because sixes are like harmony and balance, right? And I was looking at my spread, and I have like two cups and two majors, but even with the Hierophant and um the Emperor, I think of them more as um like airy, like thoughts, your thoughts, your thinking, and then the cups where it's more about your emotions and your connections. And like if you look at the card, he's balancing himself on the swords, and swords is our communication, it's our thinking, it's our thought processes. And then you have the water, which is about our emotions. And we know that there is a big connection between our thoughts and our emotions. And I think the balance is, like he's working hard to balance himself as he steps on, all of these swords. So as you're working through like growth and you're learning how to do so, it's finding a balance of, I'm learning all these things, I'm doing all these things. Sometimes it may not work out. Sometimes I might have a problem. Sometimes I might get frustrated, but then I have to, think about that and kind of be able to, like ground myself, or be able to do something that's going to allow me to not become very frustrated and annoyed and then give up, or become a perfectionist, if something has to be done, So it's really kind of balancing, our emotions with our thoughts. that I think is not, and that kind of reminds me of the Justice card, discipline and compassion. This is just like, to me, another version of that,
Yeah, he's
and
balancing
he's-
but he's also moving. That's hard
yeah,
to do, to keep your balance.
yeah.
And stepping on swords that are floating in the water would be pretty tricky. And
And it's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do, but it's something that can be done. Maybe not all the time, right?
yeah,
You might fall into the water, but that's
Mhm.
okay. You get right
Mhm.
back up again, and you continue on
keep on
your
going.
journey.
The Eight of Swords, which shows a woman sitting in front of a mirror, and in the woman in the reflection is kind of wound up by crows, have strings kind of tied around her, and she's got her wrists are bound, and she has a blindfold on, and she looks very trapped. And of course, in the person that is looking into the mirror doesn't have any of those things on her. So this card does a good. I really learned how to get out of my own fucking way this year. Like, that is my biggest thing. I've learned that I can always get out of my own way. There's always something I can
great.
do to get out of my own way, and that a lot of what I let stop me is self manufactured and
Yeah.
perpetuated by me, not an outside. Because you look at this and you're like, oh no, she's all tied up. That's awful. But in the real world, she's not. These are just thoughts. These are thoughts that she lets hold her back. She gets all caught up in perfectionism, or I can't move this way, or I can't move that way, or and that can be an easy pattern to fall into when you feel like you've tried and you've tried and you've failed and you've failed. And it's really an easy way to kind of let yourself off the hook. If you blame everybody else and you blame external circumstances for everything, and that's not to say that there is no injustice in the world. There definitely is. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ways that I get in my own way, not the ways that society limits what they think I should do and say and think. This is all it's a microcosm. This is not
Yeah.
macrocosm sort of divination or reading. This is, to me, tarot is about what can I do? What can I do?
Oh, this was great, Angie. And I really hope that our viewers or listeners, that they got as much out of this spread as I think we all did.
Yeah,
So, and please, leave us a comment,
yes,
under the in the comment section of the YouTube, and let us know what you thought about it.
yeah,
I would be really love to hear. I mean,
would love
to
to hear.
read and see. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This was really fun. I'm so glad that we tried a new thing. Okay, well, I think that was really very terrific
It was
and so
wonderful.
much fun.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that Linda got to be here. We will probably
Me
meet
too.
again next week at around the same time. So hopefully you can stay up late again and come and hang out with us for our next adventure.
Ooh,
Ooh, happy new
exciting.
moon in Virgo and eclipse and equinox and
And all the things.
fall. All the things.
Yes.
All the things. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Linda.